Let's talk to an Illinois congressman on the Foreign Affairs Committee who has served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
You bet, Chris.
You know, first, let's say what we must, which is God bless the troops whose lives were lost, those who were injured, and their families who serve right alongside the men and women who are on the battlefield. That must be said. And in respect,
it's a stark reminder.
Yes, and one you know better than I ever will because of the experience you've had in serving this country. And it's why I thank you for your service every time I see you. Now, out of respect for them, let's deal with the politics here because you have very different messages. This bombing is proof that you need to get out. You don't belong there. The bombing is proof that you have to stay because it's not over. ISIS isn't done. How do you see it?
So I think the bombing is proof you have to stay. So when we know more about whoever this evil person was that did the bombing, they may not even be Syrian. They may be there because they just want to kill people that think differently than them. Undoubtedly, they targeted this cafe because there were Americans there. So if you think about somebody that would be willing to do that, maybe, possibly travel to Syria. We know a lot of ISIS travel to Syria to fight the West. They're going to be willing to travel to the United States to fight the West, too. I've always said, and I believe this, fighting terrorism is not a choice we have. What we can choose is where we fight terrorism. And I think when you make a statement like ISIS is defeated and the caliphate is defeated, what you've done is empower the recruiters of ISIS to say, look, we did it. We outlasted the United States. I told you we could do it. We had tough times like was prophesied, but we're going to come back from this even stronger. What's essential is to say there's a military component that is probably going to be ongoing for a while, and then it's a whole nother discussion, but there's a soft power component, giving the next generation of Muslims hope and opportunity so they reject this philosophy within their own religion.
One more beat on this. The president says we'll never have enough people there to make a difference. They have tens of thousands. The Turks have tens of thousands. Assad has all his guys. ISIS, to the extent that they exist, they come and go. We're outmatched. It's not our war. It's a civil war. We should get out.
Well, it sounds like Rand Paul talking points. And I'll tell you, the great thing about being the United States military is we can be outnumbered but never outgunned. Our presence in Syria, for instance, in Iraq even, is about a force multiplier. It's about equipping and training and emboldening the people on the ground to do the fighting too. Now, no doubt our troops are exposed, but the bulk of those 2,000 troops are there to stiffen the spine of people that can do the fighting that otherwise we would have to do. I actually think Syria is a great example of leveraging special forces and other people to help irregular forces in the region win the fight that otherwise 100,000 American troops would need to do. We're not engaging and attacking the Russians and the Iranians all over Syria, but what we are going to do is have a seat at the table when the negotiated solution to Syria comes forward. And I have no idea why we would want to give up that leverage and allow Iran, allow Vladimir Putin to carve up Syria as they see fit.
Thank you for your perspective on what certainly is a hard day for the fighting men and women today, and it begs perspective. Thank you for providing it. All right, let's take on another tough issue right now, the shutdown. You believe the shutdown is a mistake, that that's not the way to leverage a negotiation. The president disagrees. What do you say?
This is a government of the most powerful country in the world that's shut down. Now, look, there's enough criticism in my mind to go to both sides of this debate. I think there's an easy way to compromise on immigration, and I think 80% of Americans would be happy if we did it and happy with the bill. But we've gotten into this stupid point in politics where everybody thinks that the only way you can win is if the other side completely loses. And that's where we're at. We're not budging. The reality is we have to get back to saying there can be win-wins. I don't care if you call them lose-loses. But what I've learned is whenever Republicans and Democrats actually can put their differences aside and get something that maybe nobody likes, the American people typically really like it. This is an embarrassment. Our inability to have this debate is an embarrassment, frankly, around the world that looks at us as this model democracy. And this is on all of us. And I would say to your viewers, they have to demand more of their politicians, too. Compromise is not a dirty word. We can get to where we all have something in this we like, but it means putting our pride aside for a bit.
How many Republicans think as you do?
I don't know. I think a good number, maybe. I think a good number of Democrats think like I do. But we're kind of hostage to this, I don't know, I don't want to call them necessarily the extremes, but this viewpoint that you can never compromise. And guess what? If you can never compromise, we're going to be stuck in this. And there's a lot of innocent people not getting their paychecks.
Do you think that Republicans like you can get the president to make a move, that on the Senate side, they can get Mitch McConnell to put something on the floor so the men and women there can be held accountable for what they want?
I hope so. I think it's going to be something that probably ultimately comes out of the Senate. And I have to be fair in hitting my Democratic colleagues, too. To say that the starting position is absolutely we will never do anything that has to do with a wall. The president has never said that, unlike DACA, for instance, and Dreamers. So I think there's an opportunity if we all can say, both sides can declare victory. It doesn't matter. But if we can say some money here, let's fix the DACA situation, which we all want to do, Americans would actually look out here and go, okay, well, that was a stupid 30-day shutdown, but at least we got something good out of it.
Congressman, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you for your service to the country.
You bet. Take care.
And credit